Well, good morning. My name is Willie Lawson, and this is the Morning Report. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, fightbackmedia.com, and fightbackmediatv.com. It is a pleasure, indeed, an honor to be with you this glorious morning. It is Wednesday, is it? Wow, this week is zipping right along, isn't it? Any case, we've got a couple of stories today about free speech. And I really don't think that people understand. Matter of fact, I'm sure of it. I am sure of it that most Americans, frankly, especially the ones that have the larger platforms that can say anything they want anytime they get ready to and about anybody they choose to, don't really get it. You know, one of the phrases my grandmother used to have, she used to say that people are so free till they're foolish. I was talking about little kids, but the phrase talks about some of the people that we're going to talk about today. I was on Twitter, which I have been on lately. If you don't follow me on Twitter, you can follow me on Twitter at RBM Show. RBM Show. And the history behind that, real quick, is that the show used to be called, when I started it, the Rational Black Man Show, RBM Show. And that's where we got our Twitter address, and we just stuck with it because it was easier than changing it. How about that? So there you go. RBM. Search for Willie Lawson on Twitter, and then you'll find RBM, and you'll find it. Anyway, I'm on Twitter, and there's a person who's complaining because they got blocked by Andrew Tate. Okay. Well, I thought Andrew Tate was yelling about free speech. Well, he is. He just doesn't want to. He doesn't want to hear your mouth. He just want to see what you wrote, and he doesn't necessarily want you to see what he wrote, which really doesn't affect you, dude. Brian, it doesn't affect you. You still can spew all the hate towards Andrew that you want to. He just doesn't want to see it. Free speech isn't, well, I want to say this and you have to listen. Not at all. You got that wrong. No, I mean, free speech is you say whatever you want. And I have the ability to turn you down. I have the ability to hit the slider on the mixer, and you just go in my headphones. But you're still saying whatever you want to say. That's kind of how it is. How it is. And everybody gets to decide. Anyway, you may remember this name, Barb McQuade. Barb McQuade is a former U.S. attorney, and of course, a current MSNBC legal analyst. Announced that she had first and had first and the first draft had finished the first draft of her manuscript for a upcoming book on disinformation. Disinformation, one of those 1984 terms. The book is titled Attack from Within: How Disinformation is Sabotaging America. McQuade added, let the summer of edits begin. Of course, in MSNBC host Andrea Mitchell tweeted, congratulations, I can't wait to read it. All right, well, okay. It didn't take long for Twitter just to go ham on this woman about how she spread disinformation about everything from Hunter Biden's laptop, which she said came from Russians in 2020, to promoting the much discredited Steele dossier. Yes, she tweeted, yes, the laptop is Russian. Complete, total lie. Now, she tried to delete that tweet, but Twitter is all over the world, and you may be able to get rid of it here. Word of warning, you may be able, to get rid of it on your timeline, but it may still exist somewhere else in the world. All someone has to do is go to their VPN and get on Twitter, and now they're in Twitter. You're on Twitter in, I don't know, Afghanistan or wherever the heck, and there's a tweet that you tried to get rid of. So of course, when someone says to her that this is something that you tweeted, she goes, well, the bots and the trolls are out in full force. Well, the people are commenting on what you said before, that you were bold. Yes, the laptop is Russian. No, the laptop wasn't Russian. Greg Price says LMFO, LMFAO. There's literally not a single piece of blue anon information, disinformation this woman has not spread. She talked about the Steele dossier. She talked about all sorts of things that just weren't true. Just weren't true. So how did basically she didn't take the criticism very well because people like that have pretty thin skins because you can see right through them. By calling real people who said that she has not a leg to stand on, she called them bots and trolls who are proving her point. Well, that's not real. Well, of course they are. The bots and trolls are out in full force. Well, no, they're not. They're bots, not bots, but they may be trolls. Trolls are people that we don't like who tell the truth about what they see. Sometimes, and this particular information, this particular instance, that's exactly what's happening. So I'm not looking forward to the book by Ms. Quaid. My guess it'll be more lies, there'll be more misinformation. Um, it'll be more agenda, and it'll be and of course it'll be in the bargain book section next to all of the Hillary Clinton books in probably a month after being on the New York Times bestseller list. It'll be in the 99-cent bin at your Books a Zillion in about a month after it comes out. So wait till next Christmas to give it as a gift. All right. Megan Rapinoe, I guess her name is. She is of course, the former U.S. women's soccer team star, has accused comedian Dave Chappelle. Before we get into the rest of the story, I'm a person who believes that comedians are the only ones at this point, other than Jesus himself. Comedians are the only people who are going to be able to save the society. Why? Because they are free to say whatever they want. And some are looking at the society with an ensconced eye and feel that they must tell the truth. The more people say you can't say this, the more a comedian wants to say it. That person has been doing that all their lives. Since they were in elementary school, since before they got in elementary school. You can't say that. And then they say it and people laugh and go, I guess I'm going to say that, right? Anyway, Megan has accused comedian Dave Chappelle of, quote, directly. Dave says something and it causes violence against transgender people. It's like she is accusing Dave Chappelle of telling people to cause damage and violence against transgender people by making jokes about the issue. Hmm. She made the comments in an interview with Time Magazine, where she expanded on her support of the transgender agenda. She said this: I don't want to mince words about it. Dave Chappelle is making jokes about trans people directly leads to violence, whether it's verbal or otherwise. Okay, let me help you. Verbal violence isn't a thing. Let's just stop right there. Verbal violence isn't a thing. There. I said it. I'll say it again. Verbal violence isn't a thing. Nothing. Especially when said by people that you don't know, that don't know you, that aren't anywhere near you, that's not said directly to you. Especially. It's like watching somebody else get punched in the face and feeling like you got punched too. You didn't. You didn't. One of the phrases that came to me a few years ago was that if I'm not talking about you, I'm not talking to you. So if I say something and that's not you, then I'm not talking to you. I used to tell white folks all the time, if someone is calling somebody else a racist and that's not you, they're not talking about you. Don't worry about it. They're not talking to you. Go on with your life. Well, that's going to get some comments right there, isn't it? Anyway, when Martina or Sage or whoever are talking about this, people aren't hearing it just in the context of elite sports. They're saying, the rest of my life, this is how I'm going to treat trans people. No, they're not. No, they are not. You know, it's funny how some of these people on the far left believe that everybody thinks like they do. This transference. Everybody thinks like they do. When the fact of the matter is, Sweet Pea, nobody thinks like you. You are on an island of weird thought all by yourself. You're on the island of bizarre thought. On the island of bizarre thought. Welcome to Bizarre Thought Island. All by your lonesome. Nobody thinks like that. She went on to criticize efforts to restrict transgender athletes from competing in some sports, which is interesting because if there were dudes competing in women's soccer, nobody would know who the hell you are. Nobody would know who the hell you are. But she's retired, so none of this affects her. It only affects anybody who's trying to come up and be important in that sport. And she says this: it's particularly frustrating when women's sports is weaponized. By whom? Oh, now we care about fairness. Now we care about women's sports. Well, certain people have always cared about fairness. Most of us have. And a lot of us have always cared about women's sports, especially if you had a daughter that's involved in women's sports. And even if I haven't given a rat's butt about fairness in women's sports or women's sports at all, this particular instance, what's happening in women's sports now is still wrong. Like Clarence Thomas says, North is still North. Whether it's raining and the hurricane winds are blowing, North is still North. Whether I got money or don't got money, North is still North. So whether I've cared about women's sports or fairness in women's sports at all, whether I've given one single thought about it my entire life, North is still North. She says that's total BS. She added, and show me all the trans people who are nefariously taking advantage of being in trans sports. It's just not happening. Leah Thomas. There are countless, countless, countless times, and it's happening at every level. Like a lot of these levels we don't see because they're happening in high school sports, right? They're happening in high school sports, and nobody, and we just haven't seen these people rise up to the ranks yet. Mark my word, you will. Chappelle has been lambasted for a few in the transgender community over jokes he's made in several comedy specials. He has responded by asserting that he has many transgender friends and bears no ill will against them. He just thinks it's funny. That clip I saw where he just said, it's funny. Imagine waking up and feeling like you're in the wrong body. That's got to be some bizarre whatever, and he curses, but it's funny. Elsewhere in the interview, she says that she would welcome transgender women on the soccer team, whether the transgender woman would displace a biological woman from playing. I'd like the dude to come and play, and I don't care if one of my female friends had not to make the team because of it. You're taking a real woman's place. That's part of the argument, and still extremely transphobic. I think the purple hair dye has gotten into this woman's brain. and now she is insane. Or she is so wrapped into the agenda and those in the agenda that she's willing to say anything. She's willing to say anything. And I've told you this before. One of the impressive things about the left is that they will say anything. They'll just say it. They don't have to even believe it. They'll just say it. It's incredible. In any case, thank you ever so much for popping into the Morning Report. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. Until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.